Have you ever had an idea stuck in your head on a loop, like a song you just can't stop singing? Yeah, me too. What are we supposed to do with those? I'll give you an example. It's April 2015, and I'm working on a new project. It's a collection of creature designs meant to be discovered by this guy on a mysterious island, and everything we know about these creatures come from his journal, told from his perspective. This explorer first finds these 3 elemental creature designs. I know no one's ever done that before. The first was a blue one that we'll leave for later. The second was a pig that shoots fire from its nose named Inferglet. Now, as I talked about in this video, that wasn't its original name, which was something that a guy harassed me over email for 6 months about. That was a fun chapter. The third was a caterpillar-like grass bug named Budvay. This is a design I call good enough for the time. Did some pixel art of both. Someone said I should focus on pixel art because it's what I was better at. That was a bit of a wake-up call to get better. Now, I was only working on this new channel, a comic, and a course at the same time, so I'm not sure why I never finished Creature Codex. That's what I was calling it. Either way, these 3 designs got lovingly shoved into the spare parts bin, as many of our best ideas are. And yet, those ideas keep looping. Fast forward to summer of 2021, and Inferglet gets a nice little glow up, or flare up, a smolder up, and I figured it's time for Budvay to get the same treatment, because after all,
yeah, you're a good drawing kid, I'll give you that. You had all the 19 likes on Instagram, and you got moxie, but frankly, you're played out. You're akimbo from any other angle, and frankly, good enough for the time just isn't good enough.
And then you'll deepfake Jimmy Stewart over top, right? Sometimes when you get that idea stuck on loop in your mind, it may be because you have a character design or something similar that's almost working. The temptation might be to give up on an idea or throw the whole thing out with the bathwater. Instead, though, you may just be one small change away from something really starting to work. Now, I don't know about you, but I get pretty precious about my ideas, which leads to a kind of contradiction when I revisit them. I change almost nothing, but expect a different, better outcome. That's the definition of something, isn't it? Revisiting Budvay, it's clear how odd the proportions of this character are, how little they can actually move, and how the head only works from a certain angle. See, Budvay, as it was in 2015, is a caterpillar, and caterpillars are something I drew quite a bit of a few months ago. Now, these designs are meant to play in 2 dimensions. They're flat and cartoony. But by the design principles that I like to guide me, there's an even distribution of the weight in these designs. Either there's less emphasis on the second shape of their legs and tail, or there's follow-through to balance the shapes. For Budvay the caterpillar, this flat head is just too big, and the rest of the shapes are unremarkable. Now, despite attempted dimensionality, they're even more flat than these cartoony counterparts. That's when I realized that instead of trying so hard to incorporate caterpillar features, there was another creature to pull inspiration from to really ground Budvay. But to ground them, it would need to come up on land. And that's when I started to wonder, what if you put a horse underwater, but took said underwater horse and brought it onto land to consume grass? That's when I realized Budvay works best as a land seahorse. The head shape is already rather close to that of seahorses and sea dragons. Seahorses use their tails to grab onto seaweed to keep from being thrown around by the current. Budvay will use its tail to maneuver tall blades of grass. Now our shapes are really starting to balance out. I also love how it really has 2 sets of arms and relies on the tail in lieu of legs. Creature design can be unique from character design because in this case, you're creating a species, not just an individual necessarily. The little bits of personality that we like to personify a creature with, like we do with dogs or cats, will need to be subtle and natural. In this case, I'm kind of not worried about personality at all. I think the serene setting and simple setup of this illustration is just nice and simple. A little like what that explorer would observe if he came across these creatures. If you're stuck in a loop with a design or idea, it may be because you're in that same cycle of wanting to change, but not really modifying anything for fear of losing it. Now, the great thing is about iteration, though, is that the things that you might lose can just go straight back into the drawer. I can still use that caterpillar body for those silly little toon caterpillars, and commit to a more interesting creature design with Budvay. Incrementally tracing over top of that old design, though, is something you do when you want to make tiny, refining tweaks. It's not something that will yield a big change. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned as a character designer. You gotta get bold and brash. Break out the chop saw, by which I usually mean the lasso tool. Usually. So what are the ideas that have gotten stuck for you, character designs or otherwise, and what helped you to break them out if you succeeded in doing so? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. This Budvay card is from Abiko's backpack 2 months ago, and this pin is from one 2 months from now, so I got nothing for you. The ones right now look like this, and February's look like this. You probably have like 30 minutes left to grab that one this month. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating. Everything else important should be on the screen. Bye!